From WBBZ-TV Sports, it's time to beat the champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
Well, welcome back for more fun in the Falls as Beat the Champ continues here at the Rapids Bowling Center in Niagara Falls. It is week number 2, and Sue, based on the first week with a little bit more of a challenge with a tougher oil pattern, the guys have responded, and no one more than Chuck Jagodzinski, who is coming in riding a 5-match winning streak.
Yeah, his score total was 701, and that is a great score for a house shot. So I don't know if he knows this isn't a house shot, but yeah, of course he does. It'll be interesting to see how he handles his obstacles, the ball return, the changing lane conditions. It'll be a new week for him.
Well, he's already knocked off one of the best Beat the Champ bowlers in Dana Vojtovich. The guys who are going to face him today, a little more inexperienced. Jake Wisor, who knows this place very well, our buddy Mike Mallwitz, who's back, and Tom Brady. They're all going to have different styles to throw at Chuck Jagodzinski.
Right, and Tom is a left-hander, and we haven't seen one yet, so we'll have to see how that side of the lane plays for him.
So that'll be a fun game within the game to watch in each of our matches. We had great crowds here for show number 1. The crowds are still growing here. It's going to be another fun day here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really great with all these bowlers that come out. Their friends and family come out and support them too, and that just gets everybody involved, and it's so fun, and that's Western New York bowling for you.
All right, Chuck Jagodzinski, red hot, one of the best bowlers in town, one of the best bowlers we've ever had on this show. Can he keep it going? It is time to find out. Let's get rolling. Chuck Jagodzinski has won 5 in a row. He will go for 6 in a row, which will be a new personal best for him. And his challenger will be Jake Wisor. We'll talk about Jake a little more in a moment, but here we go. It's week number 2 at the Rapids Bowling Center, and much like week number 1, it's Chuck Jagodzinski striking out.
I'll tell you what, if you could bottle whatever it is that he has, that, I'm not going to call it arrogance, but it's just air of confidence, I'd buy some.
I'm trying to come up with a joke about what we could, a bottle of Chuck Jagodzinski fragrance. I'm trying to come up with a joke that would be appropriate and not going to make Chuck mad at me. We'll work on that one. Jake Wisor is from right here in Niagara Falls, New York, and actually used to work here at the Rapids Bowling Center. We've had him on the show once before, so he kind of knows his way around these lanes. He's 25 years old, and that was the last and only other time we've seen him on the show here. Was here at the Rapids Bowling Center, so he may have a little inside knowledge to try to see if he can't slow down the Jagodzinski train.
Well, you know, I wonder if that is an advantage or a disadvantage to have some knowledge of this place, because as the lanes are playing, they're very different than what you're accustomed to here. So for house bowlers, so to speak, people that bowl in this place on a regular basis, take out the same ball, think they know how to move, think they know, you know, when they see this happen, what's the next thing to do. That's not going to work on this. So I know they know that, but you still feel like the lanes are, the characteristics are still there.
And we've talked a lot about how some of our top bowlers on this show, because they bowl in different places, in different conditions, in different leagues, it helps make you a more well-rounded bowler. So it's an interesting point of discussion. Yeah, I mean, Jake knows this place as well as anybody, but sometimes knowing other places, and Chuck and I talked about this a little bit when you in between shows, you know, should he have come and practiced here? And Chuck's just so good. He's seen it all. He's done it all. And he's confident enough in himself that he didn't really need to. It took him 2 or 3 frames in his first match last week to figure out what the pattern was doing, and then off and running.
Right, and I don't know if because they name these patterns, if the bowlers kind of have an idea of how it's going to already play. You know, if you know the pattern and you know the surface, I guess you can kind of figure out what balls to use, because you know what's going to at least not work at all.
Yeah, you know, I mean, Chuck's been bowling for 40 plus years. Whatever the pattern is here today, he's seen it or something very similar to it 25 or 30 times in his life before, right?
I'm going to make an observation.
I love when you do that.
Do you know how last month, just this came to me, remember the record speeds that Chuck was going in? Like, he was up and at him so fast, so fast. Right.
Pace, yes.
He's not doing that today.
No.
This shot right here, he did do it. This one he got up and just went. But now I've noticed that he's been a lot slower today, so he must be trying to keep his ball speed down. so that the ball does the work as opposed to, you know, spraying through the oil pattern.
Yeah, so that was a very good observation. Jake Wisor
I can't believe it took me this long.
25 years old, been bowling since he was 5, full-time. Oh, he's got a great job. He's an inventory supervisor at Consumer Beverages. Let's hope he gets a chance to do a lot of sampling in his job.
It could be a whole other segment.
229 average, bowls 3 nights a week here at the Rapids Bowling Center, to your point. But he's also competed in things such as the Niagara Falls City Tournament, where he was the doubles champion, New York State scratch singles leader in 2015. So he is not just a Rapids Bowling Center guy. He got that one left, didn't he?
Well,
that was going to be a challenging shot anyway. So.
Well, we all have characteristics to our natural game, and if your natural game is to open the lane up, like go from left to right, that's what's going to get you in maybe a little bit of trouble here on this shot, because you're crossing through heavier oil, so your ball's not going to kick back the way it normally does, because you're just crossing through strips of oil.
There you got to look at Janelle Sabin and the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard early in this one.
Nice shot.
There's the first strike for Jake Wisor in the 4th frame. So Chuck Jagodzinski has won 5 in a row once before here on Beat the Champ. It happened way back in 2016 at the Jamestown Bowling Company, but he has never been able to get that 6th consecutive win, and he brought it up to you at the end of the broadcast a week ago, and I know that's on his mind, that he would like to get himself into the upper echelon of win streaks here.
It's more on his mind now that he heard you say it.
Yeah. So he would like to get himself up to the top of that list. Boy, that was close. This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ.
Instant replay on Beat the Champ is brought to you by Transit Lanes and Keglers. Join us for bowling, food, and drinks.
Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
Man, he just gets up and goes. Like, even his spare shooting, he doesn't give himself time to talk himself out of anything.
Well, because the ball is already there.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to wait for the ball to come back, right?
This is true.
And just couldn't get that 10 to go down. The longest winning streak we've ever had in the show was 14 from Jeremy Zimmerman in 2017, and Dana Vojtovic is 111, Kevin Bianco is 110, host of guys at 7, host of guys at 6, and 4 different guys at 5, including Chuck Jagodzinski. Another close brush with the edge there on that spare ball. So strike, and 3 spares for Chuck Jagodzinski as he makes the turn. And Jake Wisor will finish things off here on frame number 5.
Well, this is a big shot because Jake needs this to put some more pressure on Chuck, or all Chuck really has to do is, fill frames.
That's a double for Jake Wisor.
That was a big one.
So while Chuck is sparing, that's 2 in a row for Jake to cut into the lead.
Right, that cuts the lead down to 22, and now we can take another 10 away here by throwing another one. So it's good that he lined up now.
Yeah, and remember, he had 2 open frames in the first 3, so this is a nice little comeback for Jake. Nice easy stroke, deliberate approach, and a strike. That's 3 in a row. So now Chuck Jagodzinski may be feeling a little pressure, seeing what Jake Wisor is doing as we head to the 6th frame, and right up to the line comes Chuck. And that one didn't sound right, didn't look right, and didn't get all the pins down.
Yeah, curious enough, he is on that lane where he does have room.
He didn't take the big swoopy approach like we saw him do last week.
I'm sure that original shot is broken down now, and he's in, oh boy.
And he missed the 10 pin, so that's an open and a missed spare opportunity in the 6th frame for Chuck Jagodzinski. And
yeah, you don't need that when you're fishing around.
Slides right back over now for the 7th frame. And right back to what he normally does. Qualifying is underway for next month's trip to Salamanca and Central Lanes. That's where we will head in a couple of weeks, and if you want to be a part of it, please check the schedule on the Beat the Champ Facebook page. Get yourself down to Salamanca and qualify, because the top qualifier in the round of 24 wins a television from Dirt Cheap TV. So now working 3 in a row, And seeing Jagodzinski with an open, great opportunity for Jake, and much like Chuck's shot, didn't look right, didn't sound right, didn't end right.
Does Chuck have some kind of voodoo dolls or something going on over there?
I don't know. Do we need to get a camera on Chuck to see if there's these poking pins into something over there?
The minute somebody gets close to him, something happens.
It's not a coincidence. It's happened a couple of times already. So now a really difficult spare that Jake cannot finish off. So that's his third open of the match. That's going to be tough to overcome no matter what.
Right, and he just got it going too. That's a rough spot. And one of the things, that's another one of those obstacles of this lane condition, because you leave the wide open stuff. It's hard to stay out of trouble sometimes.
And he didn't really like it.
Right,
I don't think he liked it, but the results he'll like. Way to the right was why I think we got that initial reaction from him.
He had this match down to within 5 frames,
Yep.
5 pins too.
And once you leave that door open
There it is.
for the Jag man, he is going to slam it in your face.
Yep, looking up, he's got almost a 30-pin lead with 2 frames
Boy,
to go.
that escalated quickly to
Sure
quote Ron
did.
Burgundy. Nothing better than having one of those Buffalo January viruses sitting on your couch and having Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy in constant rotation on HBO. So you might get a few more lines out of me before we're done here.
All right, how does this change things? First of all, it's very makeable.
And it sure is. What a nice spare pickup on the baby split there for Chuck Jagodzinski. So Jake Wisor comes to the 9th frame here, and as you can see on the Castellone scoreboard, you're going to need a lot of strikes to try to get back in this one.
Well, he strikes out. He's going to force Chuck to actually have to double. So he's got a chance here. Great shot.
There's one. So let's see.
This match is definitely not over.
Yeah, let's see if Jake can keep it going here. He'll finish on the left side, frame 20 or lane 29.
Strike here will cut Chuck's lead to 5.
Oh boy, that almost did a 360 all the way around the 10 and would not take it down, and that's a tough break that probably decides this match. Just one little pin, 1 inch or 2 for that pin to take that 10 out, and we're having a completely different conversation right now. That's what bowling's all about. So Jake is able to grab the spare, and he'll have one more fill ball here, but kind of hoping to put that heat on Chuck is not going to be able to do it.
No, Chuck's going to need 7 pins for generally 2 balls. So we know Chuck's probably good for that.
But I'll tell you what, to have 3 open frames and to go to the 10th with a chance to beat the hottest guy in town says an awful lot about Jake Wisor. And a good, strong
That's
finish
always
for
a given.
Jake.
That
Yeah.
shot, that fill ball is always a given when it's too late.
So it's a 186 on the board for Jake Wisor, and as Sue pointed out, 7 pins will do it for Chuck Jagodzinski. 10 pins will really do it. It's a 6th consecutive win for Chuck Jagodzinski, a new personal high for him, and he gets a chance to keep adding to it. It's a win for Chuck. That is 6 in a row. Mike Mallwitz up next. We'll talk to Jake. Get you ready for that one when Sue and I return to Niagara Falls. We're at the Rapids Bowling Center right here on Military Road, and we're back with more Beat the Champ right after this. 202 to 186 is our final score. Chuck Jagodzinski wins over Jake Wisor. You had 3 open frames, yet you still go right down to the end with a chance to really push the hottest guy in town. How were you able to do that?
I just tried to make my shots as best as I could. Unfortunately, the splits came in the way, and I caught a great bowler on a good streak.
How hard is it for you or any bowler when things aren't going well and you get a couple of bad shots to not let that linger and to be able to come right back with some strikes like you did?
That's exactly it, though. You just got to stay out of your own head and make your shots.
Right. A lot of people told me to stay out of my own head every once in a while, too. So good advice from Jake Wisor. Chuck Jagodzinski going for 7 in a row against Mike Mallwitz. That match coming up next. Thank you, Jake. Will it be a lucky 7 in a row for Chuck Jagodzinski? Mike Mallwitz going to have something to say about that. Match number 2 here at the Rapids Bowling Center. Week number 2 of Beat the Champs stay in Niagara Falls, although technically it's week number 5 because we were here last month as well too. But for this set of shows, it is week 2. Mike Mallwitz, his 6th appearance here on Beat the Champ, and numerous other appearances in some of our fun exhibition matches. He's been a guest scorekeeper. Mike's done it all. Mike, a big driving force behind this show being created as well too. But It's good to have Mike back on the show. It's been over 2 years, almost 2 years, year and a half since we had him in the regular competition. And I'm sure Mike is not particularly happy about his overall record of 1-5 here on the show. Chuck Jagodzinski got to be happy about his 27-13 overall record and current 6-match winning streak. Starting to get close to the current wins leader, which is Mike Zarcone at 29. Oh, another nice little pickup on the spare for Chuck Jagodzinski.
Yeah, something's getting into Chuck's head here on the right lane for sure. That's 2 shots that he threw really not very well. It wasn't just bad ball reaction. He really didn't throw the shots very well, and that normally happens when you're second guessing yourself. So we'll have to see what he decides to do on lane 30. But I do believe that he's lost his confidence with what's going to occur on lane 30.
Well, we'll see how that affects this match, and the guy who has the chance to take advantage of that is the 39-year-old from Grand Island, Mike Mallwitz. Look at him skirting the edge there.
Well, that might explain to you a little bit why, because it looks like there's a little hang on that lane. But Mike is way right. And you can see that Mike's playing in the spot. Yeah.
Even I know that.
But on this oil pattern, that's not normally where you would choose to play because of what happened right there. You've got no right whatsoever. It's just going to hang for you.
So strike and then open in the second frame for Mike Mallwitz, and that open sort of was determined by what happened on that first roll. So here he'll try to bounce it back for the 3rd frame.
I think Chuck took out that voodoo doll again.
I was going to ask you, as you look back now on what Chuck has done over the last 5 matches into his 6th here, to sort of sum up how he's bowling and why he's winning. And I think part of the reason is, like you said, that voodoo doll we joked about. It just every time somebody starts to push him, that something bad happens to them.
Right. And it's funny that when you think about streaks, remember Jeremy Zimmerman, we watched that go on quite a bit to get to 14.
Yeah.
Like, it became almost an intimidation factor for the other person to beat them. You know, they're not doing anything but bowling their game, but I heard a noise that he fouled.
Chuck.
He knew he fouled too.
Okay, yes. You're right. Now that makes sense.
I heard the noise. It didn't sound like a typical foul light, but that was what happened.
That
but
doesn't happen very much here.
No, it rarely happens.
So That will go as a spare in the 4th frame, right? Please explain, because I don't think it's happened to us here on Beat the Champ.
It hasn't.
Explain how it scores and all that other stuff.
Well, if you go over the foul line, it's basically a foot foul, and the ball doesn't count, so it becomes a 0, and then you just shoot the full rack as a spare.
So knocking all 10 pins down on your second ball after a foul counts as a spare, not a strike.
Right, because the first ball is technically 0.
To be honest with you, because Chuck is so tight to that line and his follow-through is so unusual, I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often.
It's true. I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. There's many situations where foul lights aren't turned on even though they're supposed to be, because they do have a tendency of being sensitive and going off when you're not even near the foul line. Like, the breeze, whatever's your ball might hit the foul line depending on whether you stop short, and foul lights just go off, and then there's no real judge to determine whether they did or they didn't. So sometimes it's either just not turn them on. So good for them that they have them on.
So Mike's struggling a little bit here. An open in the 2nd, an open in the 4th, and kind of look to the heavens there after that roll in the 5th frame leaves the 2-pin.
Well, Mike is struggling on lane 30.
Or the 4-pin, correction.
He's going to have to get away from that gutter on lane 30. It's too sensitive.
So let's see if the foul, just because it's so unusual, throws Chuck off here. There's Janelle Saban in the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard giving you a look at what's still a relatively tight match here. No, didn't quite hit where he wanted it to, but he'll have the 4 and 7 to grab.
Well, it is one of those things that are going to play on your mind. Now, I see he's got a sock on the front of his shoe, which is going to make him slide, I would think. I'm curious as to why, that's on there for some reason. So he has a tendency to most likely, I don't have any idea. We're gonna have to ask him what that's for. I've never seen a bowler have that on.
Strike in the 6th frame for Chuck Jagodzinski.
This looks like a good time to take a break. We'll be back with more Beat the Champ right after this. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
So he kind of comes back after the foul, knocks all 10 down, spares in the 5th, strikes in the 6th, as you can see.
Well, both guys don't have the same ball reaction on 30. We'll see how Mike adjusts to this. I'm going to have to think he gets away from that gutter.
And it's up to a rather sizable lead of over 40 pins right now for Chuck Jagodzinski.
He actually stayed on the gutter. I can't believe it.
Yep, and another tricky challenge on this for Mike Mallwitz.
It's actually in the 5th frame, a 27-pin lead for Chuck, but now it's going to be a little bit more depending on whether he converts this or not.
And that's a 3rd open frame in this match for Mike Mallwitz.
Well, we know how Chuck reacts to that.
Yeah, like a lion pouncing on a wounded prey is how he usually reacts. A little more off the edge, and you see the results that time. Qualifying is going on for next month's Beat the Champ trip to Salamanca, Central Lanes. Check the Facebook page for the schedule. And remember, our top qualifier in the round of 24 wins a television from Dirt Cheap TV. Two in a row for Chuck Jagodzinski in the 6th and 7th.
That's an easy one for us to call now, isn't it?
Chuck has won 6 in a row. Only 5 other Beat the Champ bowlers have won more than 6 in a row. Jason Siliberto, Pete Maduri, Kevin Bianco, Dana Vojtovich, and Jeremy Zimmerman. There's a triple for Chuck Jagodzinski. Starting to take control of this match. This is usually about the time when he does that, right? Frames 7, 8, 9, right around there.
Well, as soon as his opponent gives him an opening, he is right in it.
So let's see if Mike Mallwitz can do a little bit of what Jake Wisor did, which is, despite the open, still push towards the end.
There we go.
That helps. That's a double for Mallwitz.
Now, he's thinking to himself, because he got that ball going the right way. It was going right to left, and he didn't miss it. He didn't miss to the right, and he got the results that he would have gotten all along, most likely. But the best he can do here is 200, and Chuck's going at probably about a 220 pace, so he needs to throw all of them and see what happens.
And if you're wondering, if maybe you weren't watching us last week and you're wondering and you're like, the scores are kind of low, Chuck won last match with a 202. That's a product of being on a sports shot pattern here, which is much different than the one that we were on last month when the scores were much higher here at the Rapids Bowling Center.
Right.
So anywhere between 2 and 220 is likely going to be what most of our wins are going to be, correct?
Yeah, I would even think that as we go on, 220 would be a really good score. And like when Chuck opened with 250, you're like, wow.
220, 221, whatever it takes.
Right.
I'm throwing all these movie lines at you. You gotta stay sharp. Mr. Mom, that's a classic line from Mr. Mom. You remember Mr. Mom with Mike?
I do remember it, yeah.
220, 221, whatever it takes. Keep it on your toes here in the Boys Keep. Chuck Jagodzinski, 9th frame. Correction, that was in the 10th frame already. I missed a strike while I'm making goofy jokes. I missed a strike.
And that is game.
So Chuck Jagodzinski will get his 7th consecutive win, and this one was a little tougher, the foul, a couple of other little things that happened, but nonetheless, it's another win for Chuck Jagodzinski. We'll come back, talk to Mike Mallwitz, get you ready for our final match of the week when Sue and I return to Niagara Falls. More Beat the Champ right after this. .227 to 189, the win for Chuck Jagodzinski over Mike Mallwitz. It took you a while to get going. That put you in a bit of a hole, and then when you started to find the groove, you were a little too far behind, weren't you?
Yeah, actually in practice, I had both lanes the same. The right lane kind of carried down on me because I was playing further out than it appears that everybody else was, and just didn't catch up fast enough, and Chuck is a train right now, so...
Yeah.
Hard to stop a train.
I was going to ask you, give us a sense of as an opponent, standing right next to him and watching him bowl, what is it that Chuck is doing so well to be on a streak of 7 in a row right now?
Honestly, he's similar to me. Like the less boards you cover right now on a tougher shot, the better. So he's just down and in, just doing his thing, doing the same thing every time, and it's hard to beat that. Spares, wins the game.
All right, when are we heading back to Mallwitz's Island Lanes?
For Halloween.
Halloween, all right.
Yeah.
That only makes so much sense on every level. Mike, always good to see you. Chuck Jagodzinski tries to wrap up another week with another win. We're back right after this. Can Chuck Jagodzinski win 8 in a row? The guy who will try to prevent that from happening is Tom Brady. Yes, Tom Brady. And that's it. No more Patriot quarterback references. He just happens to have the same name, but we're happy to have Tom Brady from right here in Niagara Falls making his Beat the Champ debut. Let's see if he can throw a couple of touchdowns or strikes here to get things. All right, that's it. Now I'm done. I promise I'm done. How about that for a way to get things started for Mr. Brady?
Well, Chuck came over and he was chatting a little bit in between matches, and he said when he first started, he had a nice ball reaction before it started getting broken down, and he said now he's worried because his opponent has the same thing on the other side because nobody has touched the left side yet.
Well, but again, what makes Chuck Jagodzinski so good is his ability to know that and adapt to it and know it before it really starts to be a problem.
Well, also Chuck likes to point out why he might have a problem, just to put that out there. But I said, don't worry,
So we're
Chuck.
prepared for it in case it happens?
Just use that voodoo doll you've been using all day. I said, don't worry about it.
That's right. Did you ask about the foul situation?
I did not. I did not.
Because we were kind of wondering that was
Right.
unusual, and Chuck's still wearing that kind of sleeve on the front of his foot. Whatever it is, it doesn't seem to matter.
It doesn't.
So let's see if Tom Brady can be the guy who can be a little more consistent. What we've seen from the opponents against Chuck is they'll have their moments and then things fall apart, or they fall apart early and then they recover and get strong late. But let's see if Tom can just be consistent, strikes and spares and no opens, and that may be what it'll take.
Right. Staying out of trouble is big on this.
And he'll be in position to get a 10-pin spare. 46 years old from right here in Niagara Falls. Well, I think I'm making Tom a little older maybe than he is. Works for the U.S. Postal Service, but has been bowling for a long time, bowls regularly at a number of places up here. 30 career 300 games for Tom Brady.
Yeah, Tom's a very good bowler. He scored. He did lead the qualifying. He bowled one time. Him and I bowled on the same day actually, and he shot like 780 something giant to make this. And this is his home house. He's very comfortable. He's been bowling great. He's been winning everything that he bowled, and we actually had to call him at home and make him come here. And he did.
And he also won the television for being the top
won the
qualifier, so
right.
he was able to take home the dirt cheap TV. And then qualified, obviously, well enough in the top 24 roll-off to be right here on TV. And there's a nice strike. So 2 of the first 3 are strikes, sandwiching a spare for Tom Brady, and now Chuck Jagodzinski, who's up to 28 wins against only 13 losses here on Beat the Champ. If he wins this match, he will tie Mike Zarcone for the most wins by anyone. And it helps when you get a little bit of a late spinner that falls into the pit there off the left side on the 7-pin.
Tom should go sit over there in Chuck's chair because there's something going on over there.
I was going to say, and maybe see if that voodoo doll is available or not. So the opportunity to tie Mike Zarcone for the most wins, and then continue to set up the possibility that next week we'll have a Jagodzinski versus Zarcone match. That possibility exists as Mike is second up on the list of bowlers on next week's show. There's Janelle and the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard, 3 in a row for Chuck Jagodzinski. So if he wins this match, it'll be 8 in a row. That'll be the 4th longest winning streak in Beat the Champ history. And if he wins this match, again, he'll tie for the most wins.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
And what didn't you like there?
Oh, he missed way inside his target. He is definitely not looking at 15, and I think his ball crossed the arrows at 15 going
So
pretty
he's
close. Going
lucky to get 9 pins and leave himself a 7, huh?
It's not where he's playing on the lane.
A lot of Tom's inspiration comes from bowling for one of his best friends. You know a little more about the story there, don't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Voodoo doll. Right?
I've bowled with Tom enough to know that that does occasionally happen. But anyways, yes, Tom's best friend, Sean Sterner, who is a great advocate for bowling. His bowler himself, coaches over here at Rapids, husband of Michelle Sterner, who we know has been my longtime doubles partner, is having a bout with cancer, and there's stuff going on here. They're having a drawing, and we have fundraisers regularly for him. But Tom's here to support Sean, and Sean's back there here, pay it back, and he's doing okay.
Little rockabye baby there on the 2-pin, and it would not go down for Tom Brady. And again, could have used that. Those are the things you need to beat Chuck Jagodzinski.
Right.
Well, we wish Todd nothing but the best, and Sean, I'm sorry, and what a tribute to Tom to help his friend along, and hopefully those fundraisers and everybody will generate enough to make things positive. So fifth frame now from Chuck Jagodzinski, and there's 4 in a row.
It's funny because Sean is the hugest Steelers fan that I know. I mean, that man has wardrobe in anything that comes in Steelers, Sean has. But his best friend's Tom Brady.
And his best friend's Tom Brady, right? How about 5 in a row?
The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute.
Instant replay on Beat the Champ is brought to you by Transit Lanes and Keglers. Join us for bowling, food, and drinks.
Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
Remember, all of this got started because a couple of weeks ago in the final show of our first month here at the Rapids Bowling Center, Chuck Jagodzinski bowled the 5th 300 game on Beat the Champ. That advanced him to the back to Rapids here for this series of shows, of which he has won the first 3 and then the first 2 this week, and is looking to make it 6 in a row through the first 2 shows here, but 8 in a row overall. And that's a bit of a tough one there for Tom in the 6th frame.
Yeah, they're not. That one he got going up the boards and sprayed right through his break point, and probably in a way not to make the same mistake he made last time. And like I said, the worst thing you can do is start thinking, don't do this and don't do that. And this shot forces you into that sometimes.
And can't get them all, so that's 2 opens in the last 3 frames for Tom Brady. And how many times have we said this? Generally, that's not going to help you beat Chuck Jagodzinski. We've seen a couple of guys almost overcome those, but almost isn't good enough.
Well, I know we're just a little bit over halfway through, but the best that Tom can do is a 214, and Chuck's still got a 290 sitting up there on the board.
Yeah, wow. So we'll have one more week of our regular competition where we'll see how many more Chuck can keep winning if he wins this match. And then in 2 weeks, we're really going to have some fun because we're going with Ladies' Day here, of which you're a part of. Tell everybody about it.
Right, so there was a ladies competition mixed in with the Beat the Champ qualifiers. So you were sprinkled in with the rest of the qualifiers, and you could bowl both. You could bowl the regular qualifier, you could bowl the ladies qualifier, have your scores go to both. And all the ladies that made the show, now I was out of town last week, I couldn't be here for the roll-off. All the ladies that bowled in it that made the 4th show would have all made the regular qualifier too. So the reason I wanted to point that out is because it's like, I say it all the time, girls got to come out and bowl. There's no reason why they're not going to make the regular show. But besides the fact, none of those girls chose to do that, but we're still all in the 4th show. I bowled the first week, posted my score, and it did hold up to be 3rd. And the first match, I'll bowl Julie Selk, who was 4th, and we're going to do step ladder format. And nice of them to put this sports shot out for us girls.
Yeah, of course. That's the best shot of the day for Tom Brady.
Yeah.
That's 2 in a row. Well, that'll be fun. So that'll be in 2 weeks, where we'll turn it over to the ladies and let you guys, and it'll be fun to see you bowling on this show and maybe doing a little bit of your usual analysis while you're bowling. So we're going to have some fun with that. Don't forget that we've got qualifying going on at Central Lanes in Salamanca for next month's shows, and the top qualifier in the round of 24 is going to win a television from Dirt Cheap TV. Check the Facebook page for all the available dates and qualifiers and taping dates and everything else you're going to need to know.
Right, and this didn't go that well for Tom, but at least he did come out with the TV because he was the high qualifier this month.
So the debut of Tom Brady, not going to go so well here on this show, as many of the debuts here always don't go so well. And then you throw in the added fact that his debut comes against Chuck Jagodzinski, looking for his 8th win in a row, and it's going to be memorable for Tom that he gets on the show. The result's not likely going to be there. So Chuck Jagodzinski is working 7 consecutive strikes after a spare in the first frame. So let's see how strong Chuck can finish up. And that brings the strike streak to an end
But more than enough to win.
More than enough to win. So it's going to be the win, the 8th in a row, and the 29th overall on Beat the Champ for Chuck Jagodzinski. He is moving up the record lists, tied now for the most wins with Mike Zarcone, and in the midst of this incredible 8 matches in a row win streak. We'll talk to both guys and get you ready for what should be a great 3rd week when Sue and I come back to the Rapids Bowling Center right after this. The Chuck Jagodzinski Show continues to roll on. It's a 259 to 169 win over Tom Brady. Tom, you struggled a little bit there, and it doesn't help that you're bowling against the hottest guy in town.
Oh, yeah. These lanes are way different than what I qualified on, and the practice pair is not even close. But
right, and this is a place that you know very well, right?
Very well, yep. And congrats to Chuck, and keep it rolling.
All right, well, Tom put up a nice fight, but right now, Sue, no one has found the lanes better than Chuck has.
Chuck, I know from the minute you come up here, you tell me a few things, and you seem to be a man of numbers, and you got the score you needed to win this week, but your goal now is to the matches overall?
Yeah, what am I now, 29? 29, and Mike said 29, right? Yeah, so we're tied. Hopefully I can win one more and we can face off.
Yep, and he's talking about Mike Zarcone because they're very close as being the top winner here for Beat the Champ, and you know all those numbers, don't you?
Oh, yeah. I know them probably better than Paul.
I don't know about that.
No, I think he does.
But great bowling today. It's very impressive.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
All right, so Chuck Jagodzinski now 8 wins in a row. He has swept the first 2 weeks. Let's see what he can do in week number 3. Sue and I will preview those shows when we return to the Rapids Bowling Center right after this. I think the one thing we learned from Chuck Jagodzinski is the great ones know everything about the way they're bowling. They know every stat. They know what they need to do, what they want to do. It's pretty fun to see, isn't it?
His mind just never stops working. I don't even know if that's part of his secret to not paying attention to the bowling, is his mind's always on something. And I laugh every time he walks up next to me because he's got another stat in his mind of what he's going for, but it's working for him. And I think the intimidation factor is growing. As he keeps winning, he becomes more intimidating to the other bowlers.
Yep, so it's 8 in a row, and then, but I can tell you right now, going into next week's shows where it's Ryan Kress, Mike Zarcone, and then we wrap up with zoning out on Rocket Rob Piccoli, that's who it is. There's not going to be any intimidation factor if Chuck gets to that point where he's bowling against Mike Zarcone.
I know, that will be the match of the day if it gets
be.
to that point. I mean, they're going to have to go through another Kress boy who we've seen a lot of them, and he's the left-hander, so after we see Tom bowl, he's got to be a little nervous seeing that left-hand side.
Yep, you haven't erased Chuck's name off that Castellone scoreboard, and who knows when you will.
I know, I joked around with him before that last match, and I said, Chuck, this is the Chuck show. I mean, this isn't even Beat the Champ anymore. It's who can beat Chuck.
Right, there is a show, I think, called Jag, right? This is another one that's called Jag right now. We'll still call it Beat the Champ, and we'll be back for another week of fun action here in Niagara Falls. Beat the Champ. We'll see you next week.